Right, I think we are going live. Just about. There we go. Hello. Hello, how is everybody doing? How's things? My phone is telling me that I am live, I assume. Yes, yes it is. I shall put it on silent. There we go. Hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? How's your week been? How's life? Hello Michael. Hello Phil. How are you guys doing? How's your week? You know too well how I'm doing. That's true. That's true. New toys are always fun. For sure. Hello Tom. How you doing, man? How's things? How's your streams? Good morning, Simon. How you doing? How has your week been? I've been testing multi-monitors, hence the one that's on the floor, the one that's on the desk, and the one that you can't see that's just above that monitor. Hello Bobby. Hello from Macedonia. Nice. Hello. I've tried installing Windows 11. Please help. Nice. Did you try and install it as your main operating system? Does upgrading from Windows 10 64-bit to Windows 10 32-bit is a good upgrade? No. No. That's a downgrade. The 64-bit versus 32-bit is a difference in the main user difference is ability to address memory. So was it back when it was 16-bit the maximum, or is it still 32? I think it was 16-bit that had a maximum of 3.5 gigabytes of RAM, but it could be 32. Can someone remind me of that? What's the maximum memory support on 32-bit? Because I'm sure that it's, or is 32-bit the 3.5 gig one? I don't remember. But yeah, no. You want 64-bit. You'll be running a 64-bit processor, so you want maximum support, maximum memory compatibility, and all that. So yeah. Hello, Essentialist. How you doing, man? How's things? I just got the same chair as you, the Noble Chase Hero. Nice. It's great. I like it. How do you like it? I assume you've built it. I'm joking. 32-bit Windows is a worse upgrade. Cool. Just checking. On a spare hard drive. Gotcha. Well, that's reasonable. What went wrong with you installing it? Hello, Kevin from the UK. Hello, Juan from Argentina. How you doing, guys? I'm sitting in it right now. It's awesome. Nice. Where do you have the lumbar support adjusted? The dial on the side. Do you have it like cranked out all the way in, a little bit out, a little bit in? Streams have been good. Just hit 15 followers after only 3 weeks. Nice. What games are you playing? I'm alright. Still can't move my back, but I'm good for the rest. Nice. I'm still very confused as to how you managed to, slip your back. Have you been able to see a doctor at all? See if it's like slip disc or something, or just pulled? Are you excited for Windows 11? So I've already done a few videos on the leaked Windows 11 ISO, right? And the video that I have on why does this exist kind of facilitates my thoughts quite nicely, which is that if there wasn't the optimizations for Intel's Alder Lake CPUs, which are meant to be the main technical reason why they're doing a new version, and therefore much easier marketing for it, I do not think that this update, because that's what it is, would be called a significantly different version. I think it would just be a normal feature update, admittedly with a few UI tweaks, but that's happened before. And so it feels very much like a almost like a marketing stunt to help, you know, promote it and help differentiate. Like I said, that line in the sand to say you need Windows 11 to use these new Alder Lake CPUs or anything newer, and Windows 10 works with, you know, older stuff, whatever. I think without needing that line in the sand, I think that this would just be a standard, you know, feature update for 10. But yeah, but I suppose the answer is that I don't really care. The new UI, pretty much everything, at least at this point in time, you can revert to the standard method. The new start menu, I barely use the actual start menu. I use it to open it, you know, turn off my PC, which is now in a worse place to do that if I want to use the keyboard to do it. But you know, I use it to open snipping tool and settings, and that's about it. So this change doesn't really affect me much. I use everything to the program, everything to search for actual files, which works way better than Windows Search does. And so yeah, I'm not currently fussed. Saw a doctor, turns out muscle basically yeeted itself upside down. Nice of it. Oh dear. I bought the extra back pillow for it, so I have it all the way back. Nice, fair play. Hello Sophie. How you doing, man? Oh. Person? How's things? Have you seen the Gigabyte G27 G32 QC-A? So I've tested the G32 QC. I do not know if there's a difference between the -A model or not. Knowing Gigabyte, there probably is a difference. With that said, I have not seen what that difference is, so I can look. While I'm looking, I have a 10-year-old PC. Where would you start upgrading it? So Antonio is kind of right in saying that if it's 10 years old, it has DDR3 memory. So what do you want to use the PC for? For gaming, for video editing, for just web browsing? What do you want to do with it? G32 QC-A. What's different? Okay. Right. What's different about the A model? Come on, Gigabyte. Where am I at? Okay, the A is slightly worse than the standard QC, from my understanding. It's probably fine, but I can't say that I've tested that A model specifically, although feel free to check out my video on the standard QC. If Windows 11 stays similar to the leaked build, it's the second coming of Windows 8. Yeah, like if the default settings stay the same as they were on that leaked build, then yes. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult, and people will be making ghost images very quickly. Where am I at? Can I read? No. I have a Dell Inspiron laptop with 4GB of RAM and no GPU. Runs worse than a PC from 2009. What do I do? Well, unfortunately, the trouble with laptops is that they are, especially on the graphics and CPU side, they are not upgradable. So the only things that I would recommend to do to that laptop would be if it doesn't have a good sized, good speed SSD in it, put one in, and upgrade the memory so you get a bit more CPU power, and technically you might get a bit more GPU power since there's more system memory for the onboard graphics to use. But the long story short is if you want to game on it, there's not much you can do to improve that. If it has Thunderbolts 3, then you could plug in a external GPU, and that might be okay, but odds are that Dell Inspiron probably doesn't. Kevin Gaming Video, got it. James is very much right. What do you know? What CPU and graphics card it has right now? My Ryzen 3900X goes up to 60 degrees C, even though I use an AIO. Yes, that's very normal. In fact, that's actually pretty low. Why was there no release date of the Windows event? I have no idea. I honestly didn't watch it because I've already used Windows 11. What am I going to learn? Yeah, I think September 22nd it says, which kind of sounds about right for the developer, like dev build previews, the kind of beta builds and insider previews, and then the production version. Sounds okay. Question to you, Andy. If a company sends over a product, do you still get hyped when the tracking says it's going to be delivered? It's probably more like anxiety than hype, just because it then means that I have to be in at that time, and so I then have to structure my day around being in, and I do get quite a few deliveries normally, so I then have to structure my week around, well, I know I need to go out and do this, but I've got deliveries on, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so I'm going to have to do that on a Tuesday or at the weekend or something, so it sometimes, for the right product, yes, but otherwise, yeah. What time is it there? 10 past 8. I have a new build I'm putting together, 1550X, nice, 1600 XT, double nice, 32 gigs of RAM, a Lianli AO. I can't find a sweet spot monitor. I'm currently running an XG27 at 270 HU. So that's definitely on the older side for 1440p high refresh rate. Or is that the 4K one? Acer had a thing where they had one model that was very specifically, I think it is that model, and it's either HU or HK or something, and one of them is 1440p 144 Hz and one of them is 4K 60. And I don't remember which one it is, but I think that's that. Anyway, it depends how much you're willing to spend. Clearly, by the spec of your build, you're probably willing to splash out. In which case, off the top of my head, my recommendation would be the Aorus FI27Q-X. It's 240 Hz, it's 1440p, it's IPS, and it is very nice and very good in the response time input lag department as well. And that should be quite a nice match to the 1600 XT. Plus, it's very good in color gamut coverage. So if you did want to edit with that 5950X, then you will have a pretty good balance across the board. I think it's about £500 or £600, so it's certainly not the cheapest, but if you're willing to spend £1,500, £2,000 on a graphics card, then my assumption is you're probably not going to be too offended by that sort of price for a monitor. But it kind of depends what you're after. There are some really nice ultra-wides as well, which would again fit that sort of build and spec, but feel free to give any insights into what you're after specifically, if you still want 27-inch 1440p, or if you want ultra wides or something like that, and guide a bit better. Sophie, did they just repeat the UI change that they did with Vista? Kinda. Kinda. The stuff usually arrives when you're home alone and on the toilet or in the middle of a meeting. Also, yes, the number of times that I've been on a press call and had to mute mic and go to the door with my wireless headset, quite often. Yeah. Oh dear. Where am I at? What was your opinion on the G32QC? So, if I remember rightly, that's a VA panel, and curved. So, I think it was a little on the slow side for the response times, which isn't the end of the world, of course. I think it is a little on the... For a 32-inch, I think it was one of the better ones that I've tested, but I don't tend to test many 32-inch monitors, so it's difficult for me to give a perfect point of comparison. Off the top of my head, I think it was a little pricey at the time that I reviewed it, which I think was my main problem. I think it has come down a little bit since then, so my opinion of it's probably a little bit better than it was at the time. Yeah, I think it's reasonable. I think it was a little bit slow on the response times. Any idea when Windows 11 will actually be available? We were talking about this a second ago. There was a rumor suggested of 22nd of September, supposedly. But I believe that is not confirmed at the moment. Hey, where am I at? Windows 11 is officially released to Microsoft Insiders. Ah, nice. I'm sure that one of my many Hotmail accounts is tied to Insiders, so I'll see. But yeah. It's a Core 2 quad and a GTX 770 with 8 gigs of RAM. So the Core 2 quad is definitely going to hold you back a bit there. Unfortunately, there isn't a direct upgrade path, and it depends on how much money you want to put into it. I would argue that you could probably upgrade the graphics card, assuming you could find one, to something like a GTX 1060 or 1070, an RX 480, 580, whatever. That sort of level before the CPU would be a significant problem. Or a significant bottleneck for that sort of card, assuming you're playing at 1080p, and that would likely still serve you well. You might want to upgrade to 16 gigs of memory as well, and if it doesn't have an SSD, definitely put one in it. But then if you're willing to spend a bit more, then there really isn't much of an upgrade path for that CPU. You would need at very least a new motherboard. Now you could go all the way up to what 4790K for with your current memory, but actually that might even be DDR2. But maybe not. But if basically if you want to upgrade your CPU, you're probably going to need to buy new memory as well as a new motherboard and probably a new cooler and a CPU. So you're looking at a whole new PC at that point. So I think it would be up to how much money you're willing to spend and how far you want to go with it. What wireless headset do you use? It is an Audio-Technica TechteamGB1WL. One of these bad boys. It's got a detachable mic. Where am I at? Which just lops in. They do squeak a bit though. How do I fix my 10-year-old membrane keyboard? Depends what is wrong with it. If you have poured coconut oil in it, then you're probably out of luck. Generally speaking, membranes aren't exactly repairable. You know, if it was a mechanical keyboard, then it'd be very simple to say replace the switch. Even if the switch is soldered in, you can still just desolder it and solder in a new switch. But with membranes, specifically with membrane rather than individual rubber dome switches, if there is a crack in the membranes, if there is if the circuit board is worn, all of those things are essentially you need to replace it, fortunately. It's $439 in Australia. Got you. It's been a while since I've looked at monitors, and it's been even longer since I've looked at monitors in Australian prices. However, I don't think that's too bad. I would have a watch of the video and you can see the actual results, even if my opinions at the time are slightly different to what they would be now because of pricing changes. But yeah, have a look at that. Thanks, I have 1,000 to spend, so I might see what pre-builds I can get. Fair enough. Are you in the UK or the US or somewhere else entirely? Andy, welcome to my second monitor. About to play a game while I watch. Nice. Fair play. Hello, Wowzed. How you doing, man? How's things? Hello, Hornet. How you doing? If I've missed anything... Oh, Windows 11 will have direct storage. Will that make a difference between Gen 3 and Gen 4? I have Gen 3. So the note on direct storage, I very much hope that they don't do what they did with Windows 7, where they locked out DirectX 12 compatibility from 7. You have to have 8.1 or 10 to use DirectX 12, which, as far as I'm aware, is not technically like, I don't think that the kernel is that much different in the grand scheme of things, so I don't think it would have been that much work, but I think it was a nice simple way to force people up that track. But it would be very nice if they don't force that, especially since it is, you know, the same thing. But yeah, in terms of it making a difference to your gaming experience, the answer that I would give is look at DirectX 12 adoption. It is, what, 2021, DirectX 12 has been out for 4 years? Might have even been longer than that. It's been out for a pretty long while, and the number of games that you can buy today that you would actually play, thinking AAA titles, the number of them that directly support in full DirectX 12 is still relatively small. Obviously, anything with ray tracing has to support, you know, DirectX 12. That's ray tracing is part of, or DirectX ray tracing is part of the DirectX 12 standard these days. However, the number of games with those features are still relatively limited. Obviously, as more come out, more and more are supporting it, and, well, as well as it says, supporting those exclusive features like ray tracing. But look how long it's taken, is my point. You know, we're 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, down the line, and it is only now becoming quite well adopted, essentially. So my expectation is that while direct storage will likely give some very good benefits to especially the consoles, I'm hesitant to believe that it is going to be a significant adoption in game engines overnight, and that a fast Gen 3 SSD like the one you have isn't going to satiate that need for a while yet. I think if you look at it from a market share perspective, the market share of hard drives is still pretty big. Even among gamers, the market share of SSDs on the whole is obviously rising rapidly, but the number of those that are just standard SATA SSDs is still pretty big. Then it's a bit more niche to get to Gen 3 drives, and then you're talking a fraction of the install base use Gen 4. So for you know, developers to optimize just for that fraction of people, rather than literally the whole rest of the pie is, I would call that unlikely for a while yet. I can't believe Windows 11 requires TPM 2.0 in the official build. My 6-month-old build doesn't have that. That's, I'm kind of surprised, to be honest. I wonder if that's something that will be excluded when it comes to the final official build kind of thing. But yeah, I think I don't know many systems directly beyond. I think AMD have FTPM that you can enable, but for example, the system that's behind me is a an Intel 11400F, and as far as I'm aware, that doesn't have a TPM header nor TPM 2.0 directly. So hypothetically, that wouldn't be supported. But I suspect that considering once you change the installer, that does, you can install Windows 11 just fine. I literally installed it on that PC. I suspect that that is a dev build setting exclusively as part of the setup that won't be included in the final build. You can buy them. I think you can buy a TPM chip from people like Scan. But yeah. Kevin, you're in Newcastle. Awesome. I have what you call it, financial bias in recommending this, but I have an affiliate link to Overclock UK in the description, and I have actually checked out some of their pre-built PCs relatively recently. They're generally pretty well built, and more importantly, they actually show you the stock of each of the items in a build before you want to buy it. So you can go to their website and click through the different options. You can see what graphics cards they have in stock, and they have build stock rather than for sale stock. So they do generally have graphics cards available, and so they're relatively good on that setup. So if you do want to check them out and then end up using them, I would greatly appreciate if you use the affiliate link in the description of the stream. Icy Dock released a 5.25 inch Bay dock for 12 M.2 SATA SSDs. I assume NVMe SATA, NVMe. No, it has to either be SATA or M.2 or NVMe, right? Going mad. My computer exploded, what should I do? Cry in a corner. Like, fair enough. If it's exploded, then if you haven't already unplugged it, definitely do that. Then work out what exploded and contact the what you call it? Come on, brain. Nope, brain shut down. The manufacturer of that part for a return, assuming it's still in warranty. M.2 form factor SATA protocol. I honestly forgot those existed. I'll be honest. The 3-prong rather than the 2-prong M.2s. Fair enough. Is that a bandwidth limitation then? Like, why it's not a NVMe 12 drive enclosure with two 16x PCIe risers coming out of it or something? I assume that's just straight bandwidth limitations. Sophie, nice. What game are you playing? I have a question. I can't read. A question from our first game PC in 2021. Nice. I got a pre-built with an i7 6th gen, and a 550 watt power supply, 16 gigs of RAM, and for £180, and then a GTX 970 for 110. Is it good? In the current climate, that's pretty decent, yes, for sure. That's what do you call it? in the current climate, that graphics card price, actually, for a 970, that's probably right as well, even on a normal day. So yeah, that's a very small amount of money for a pretty reasonable PC. Of course, it's not going to top the charts on any leaderboards for specs and whatnot, but yeah, I think you've done pretty well there. 12 NVMe's would be 48 lanes, so 3 PCI 16 connectors. I mean, if you've got a Epic, which I assume is what that's meant for, because I cannot understand why that would be a standard user. It uses 3 mini SAS. That also makes sense, again, from a more enterprise server perspective. I would imagine that would be the sort of connector that would make more sense for them to have on that sort of enclosure. Are Sennheiser headphones generally good value, or are there models to avoid? So I'm no expert in that, what do you call it, field. However, my rough understanding is that there are some more, let's call them lifestyle products, and more audiophile specific products. And you often have a, what do you call it, a price premium on some of the products that would otherwise be, you may be able to find alternatives for, say, significantly less. I know the Sennheiser HD 650s are effectively similar in audio quality to the Audio-Technica ATH M50s, but the ACH, the Audio-Technica ones are significantly cheaper. But some people prefer I think the M50s are closed back versus open back, but anyway, there is often a slight price premium. Although apparently Sennheiser just got out of the headphone market, which is interesting because I thought that was kind of their main deal. Dinner time? Nice. I assume then I'll either catch you later or next week or something like that. If I asked if there were difference between Gen 3 and Gen 4 WinDirect storage on Windows 11, I also mean, will there be a difference in loading times on games? So my understanding of direct storage is more to do with being able to stream files and textures more readily, rather than an immediate throughput benefit. Because you can generally already realize benefits of using a true full-fat Gen 4 SSD from a straight bandwidth I/O perspective. It's more about the ability to process and utilize those files on the fly, is my understanding. Could be wrong. So I don't expect that it would be greatly improved. I think they're still doing audiophile headphones still. Right. I'm still confused why they would get out. Like, what other products does Sennheiser make that aren't headphones? Speakers, I assume? They don't, like, I've never seen a one of the sorts of collaborations that people like Bang & Olufsen or who else? Well, those sorts of brands do with like car brands and that sort of thing. Make good microphones. That's true. Microphones. Studio monitors. Hello, Budget Bench. How you doing, man? Can't find evidence they're leaving the market. Yeah, I'd be confused to hear that, personally. They sold the consumer side focusing on professional audio. Right, got you. Fair. By the way, I got a friend of mine that got a 1390. He told me he has so much VRAM he can fit the whole game's textures and still have 6 gigs free in CS:GO and Valorant. Nice, fair. That's I've actually been doing some testing with the system that's there with a GTX 1052 gig, a 1666 gig, and a 3080 10 gig, with multiple monitors, and seeing my so Essentialist suggested or mentioned that his system with a 1052 gig with 3 monitors, he loses performance. So I thought I would test that claim. And my hypothesis for this wasn't necessarily that drawing the straight desktop images on other monitors would be the reason, like the higher GPU load of drawing multiple monitors would be a problem, but my hypothesis was that it was higher VRAM usage in an already VRAM limited scenario that would cause that slowdown. So I was measuring the VRAM utilization and usage quite following it closely while doing my testing, so that I could see those differences. And yeah, I've just upgraded to 2080 Ti in my system because I kept running out of VRAM while editing, and I now finally have just about enough. With what, 11 gigs, isn't it? I don't remember how much. Yes, 11 gigs. Oh yes, someone was asking about FSR, Fidelity Effects Super Resolution. From what I've seen of it, it looks definitely early, a good start, a nice feature to have, and more importantly, they're doing a better job than Nvidia of catering to Nvidia's mass market customers. Like, what? No, I'm not entirely sure that FSR is going to help bring anyone who previously bought an Nvidia card over to AMD, but I do think that it is nice that it is a feature that is not only branded as an AMD feature. I suppose in the way that FreeSync was branded an AMD feature until recently, and it's now sort of been debranded essentially for a lot of monitors to Adaptive Sync rather than FreeSync. But it does look like it works relatively well, especially considering that it doesn't require any level of tensor cores or AI enhancements. So that's quite interesting. It definitely, I think, had a stronger launch than DLSS 1.0 did. However, I think it still does have a little ways to go, mostly in just more games supporting it, so that adoption can be better. But yeah, it definitely looks interesting. What with Dell Precision laptops, what's the runtime difference between the i9 and Xeon, besides ECC RAM and performance, since FPS and benchmarks are overall the same? Does the i9 last as many years as Xeon? So I have not tested any Dell Precision laptops, so I cannot tell you for certain. Generally speaking, the ECC memory on a Xeon may help, obviously, stability and data integrity through more professional workloads, but the the general lifespan of the product, the i9 will be more likely to run harder, hotter, and for longer, so therefore its general lifespan might be decreased in terms of its failure point. But from a performance standpoint and a performance lifespan, the i9 is technically more likely to outlast, likely because it's due to be meant to be a bit faster. But I have not tested either, so I cannot tell you for certain. Hello Nathan, how you doing, man? He says, "Great work in your recent videos. Thanks again for helping us out at AWDIT." No worries, man. I'm glad that we got it sorted, and it was definitely some fun liaising with your supplier there, but yeah, I'm glad we got it caught and sorted quickly. Uh, Hello, Damper Boy. Do you think that downward trend in GPU prices will continue, or do you think that the price drop in the EU will reflect the British market, considering, Brexit? So my understanding of the factors at play in the GPU sort of price drop essentially is a couple-fold, I suppose. One is there was a large stock drop that helped clear a large number of pre-orders. Therefore, with much shorter to no pre-order queues, there is hypothetically then the automated pricing models can then assume that there is slightly less demand and therefore bring the price back down. Also, the price of many, if not all, of the cryptocurrencies have currently plummeted. I think they've halved in a month or two, specifically for Bitcoin anyway. And so that price plummet has made mining less profitable, and therefore miners are now in a position where they're more concerned about their crypto balance than they are about increasing it. They're more concerned about the value of it rather than trying to increase it more. So the demand from miners will be currently decreased, and therefore the grand scheme of things that will help bring that down. With that said, the supply still has to increase quite drastically, such that there is stock of products permanently rather than temporarily, for the price to come back down to even close to MSRP for standard items. I'm waiting for Unity engine to integrate it natively, then tons of stuff will have it. That's true. I hope it doesn't take a while. I like the Fantex case behind you. It's not in stock anywhere for some reason. The Enthu, yes, it's fantastic. It's also quite old, which might be why. But yeah, the Enthu's fantastic. The Evolve, the Evolve and the Evolve X, which is my NAS. Which is also fantastic. You might find stock of the Evolve X more readily, potentially. Is RX 580 8GB worth the money in 2021? Depends how much money, really. Hello, yet another user. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. And your note about the Ferrari, which I haven't seen, but it sounds pretty cool. The all-electric Ferrari that Matt Watson from Cowboy drove was also pretty sweet. Should I buy a headset right now, because mine is terrible, and buy a mouse later, or just buy with a diminished budget for both? It depends what sort of budget you're talking about. Going from a £10 headset to a £30 or £40 headset is a pretty significant quality improvement normally. Going from a £40 to an £80 headset, depending on where you're looking, can be significant. But if you're talking about buying a £150 headset instead, then you start to get slightly more diminished returns, essentially. Sausage. Do we have a PS5 in Romania? I don't know. I'm afraid I'm not Romanian. Karan, thank you very much thanks for coming. And thank you. Can an RX 580 run PUBG? I think on low settings you should be able to at 1080p. Yeah. Can Corsair keyboards be repaired, or is it worth it? I have a K63 wireless on a lap board. I'm going to turn it on, the volume up, and it turns the volume up and no other keys work. It's so yeah. The as what it says, the trouble, the trouble in us trying to diagnose this is it is very difficult for for us to work out what's wrong, and so it is what do you call it? Come on, brain. It's very difficult for us to diagnose it. That sort of sounds like the controller, more like a controller failure rather than something to do with the switches. And so it depends. You know, if the magic smoke has left, then it's very difficult to repair that. And if it is the actual controller that manages everything, then that is also going to be difficult to repair, especially because you would need to flash the firmware back onto it. So either way, it is definitely on the, let's say, tougher side to justify price wise and time wise, but yeah. And I thought I got ripped off buying a 2060 MSRP. The current situation is crazy here. Yeah, that's definitely a. I can understand your pain. The market is still kind of crazy here too. GTX 960 or 5 RX 570. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I want to say that the 570 might be a bit better, but I don't remember. Someone can clarify that for me. Hello, Joe. How you doing, man? Nice things. I just bought a new one for 149 Australian dollars. Fair enough. I think, you know, if you're going to throw us away anyway, then potentially trying to get it to remove, you know, dismantle it and see if there's anything visibly wrong with it, and easily fixable, then that's what I would probably do before I pull the trigger on buying a new one. But yeah, probably. RX 570 is better than a 960. I thought it was, yeah, and also potentially better driver support, which is also true. I hate throwing stuff away. Same. It's very much frustrating when something relatively minor should or you know, causes a product to be unrepairable. I have a TV in the living room that is I think it's a, what is it, 32 or 42 inch something. It's not overly massive, but it's a 1080p panel. It's certainly functional enough, and I think either the scaler board or the power supply board is failing in some way. It could be the backlight as well, but I tried replacing the scaler board because it was relatively cheap to buy a new one on eBay. So I took the TV apart, replaced the scaler board, and it still didn't fix it. And I still haven't gotten rid of it because as far, like, it was perfectly functional. You know, it just feels wrong to bin something that is still potentially so little wrong with it, you know. The 570 is a minimum of 4 gig of VRAM, whereas the 960 could be a 2 gig card, and you need at least 4 gig in 2021. That's fair, yeah. To be fair, I have just tested the card that's in that system there, which is a GTX 1050 2 gig, and yeah, it's pretty terrible. Feel free to return it to its former loving owner. Well, you can have it if you want. It doesn't work. You can even have the spare scaler or the original scaler board, because the new one's currently in it. You can see if you can get it working, because I think it's either the power supply or the backlight. If it's the backlight, then it's fully dead. There's, you know, uneconomical to repair. If it's the power supply board, then I don't think that it would be too difficult to fix. I don't even have a use for it anymore, so I don't have a reason to fix it. Also, sorry I didn't answer this in either of the 2 times that you've highlighted the message. I'm tempted to build a custom keyboard. Where would you recommend to start looking for beginner's information? So the mechanical keyboard subreddit has a full guide that you can go through. From my personal experience building this keyboard, the GMMK option, either the was it 60% TKL or might be bigger than 60%. The super small one, the slightly small one, or the full size. That option that you get, the fact that you can hot swap the key switches in and out, is really easy. It makes it very simple because it is very much plug and play. It's a standard layout. It's kind of standard everything. And if you don't go and paint it like an idiot, then it pretty much works out of the box without problems. Comes with the stabilizers, all that jazz, and then you can buy pretty much whatever keycap set you want for it. The only downside is that the hotkeys likely won't line up, you know, the sub-printing ones, but you get used to where they are, so it's fine. And yeah, and then as for key switches, that's where it gets a bit more tricky as to what exactly you want. But the mechanical keyboard subreddit is a great shout, or I'm sure that Essentialist and the Discord will be more than happy to give some beginner's advice. Right, Essentialist? Have you seen or heard of someone actually getting a 3070 Ti? Honestly, no. I'll be honest. It's I haven't really seen them. I saw the initial launch reviews, and that's about it. Sure, sweet. Well, it's all yours. Next time I see you. Actually, probably the time after that, if I don't see you before July. Speaking of TVs, mine needs to be replaced as the backlight has failed and is not economical to repair. That's a shame. I think that might have been what happened with this one, but yeah, it's a shame, certainly. A 570 is 970, 980 performance. Damn. That's decent. Fair. Not bad. Been working on the roof of the workshop today. Nice. I should be finally finished by the end of the month at last. Nice one. I'm a nightmare for hoarding stuff. The joys of working in the tech industry means lots of big boxes everywhere, and you never know when you might need a 5-year-old CPU. If Mr. Tech Potato is still here, I think he wins the contest. But yes, I do have piles of both CPUs, many piles of boxes. Oh boy, so many boxes. And many other things as well. Any recommendation for a 4K monitor for a PC and PS5? Depends what your budget is. Personally, I would recommend either the sort of 27-inch or the slightly larger 32-inch ones, if it's going on a desk. And I would also recommend an IPS panel. If you're playing with a PC or PS5, unless you have an insane, 3080, 3090 PC, that kind of thing, then it is unlikely you'll need anything other than a 60Hz monitor, in which case there are quite a number of good options. LG generally comes to mind in that sort of, range, you generally get some very nice panels with those. There is also a brand new AOC monitor that I actually have on the way. I think it's like a U28 something or other G2X, something like that. I'll look it up in a bit, but that is, I think, something like £250, which is possibly the cheapest monitor you could buy, and I think it's still IPS, which is insane. Yeah, those would be my immediate recommendations anyway. Hello Jordan, how you doing, man? How's things? And hello Hiccup, how you doing, man? How am I doing? I am okay. I've just got some new meds for the old ADHD. So I've literally just started taking them, so I'll see how they go. Otherwise, busy as always. I've still got to finish editing a video either today or maybe tomorrow if I don't do it today, and then do at least one more video tomorrow, maybe two. How are you finding shipping at the moment? I've had some issues with DHL. Things have kind of got quiet for delivery, for the deliveries recently actually, but I haven't had any problems with shipping as of late. So twice as many videos per week then. No. Yeah, no. Well, I already, if you include the streams, I do 5 pieces of content per week. The stream, 3 TechteamGB videos, and the what you call it? The At the Wheel videos on. I post content every day except for Saturday and Sunday. Have I benchmarked the pills yet? Do you know? Not yet. Too small of a sample size. We had in stock, and it went out of stock in the blink of an eye. Thing is, even reviewers in Romania complain about not finding one. Interesting. So apparently JC said that he thinks that it's only Founders Edition cards right now, and that they're doing QA control and have a bunch of damage to the fins and fans, which again kind of makes sense. The what you call it? Hey, come on, brain. The reason that the 3070 Ti exists is because they can spin it off of the same die is it the 3080 or the 3070 die? I don't remember, but it's stock that they potentially wouldn't otherwise be able to sell as the same as a 3070 or as a 3080 or whatever, and so availability of chips that fit that description might be limited. But yeah. 3080, I think so, yeah, which makes sense. Do you have the weekend off as you don't upload those days or not? So not really. The trouble is that even if I wanted the weekend off, I don't switch off. So I need something to do, and unless I have something to go and do, you know, if it's a nice day and there's friends are about, then you know I can go cycling or whatever, or go do something, then I can. But if I'm just sat at home, you know, watching YouTube videos or whatever, there's if there's nothing else for me to do, then I may as well be working. So yeah. And does Andy just workloads any day, being self-employed? Kinda, yeah. I do struggle a bit, but I get by. According to our local marketplace, the 10980XE is significantly cheaper than the 5950X. Would it be considered as a good solution for 3D rendering and gaming workstation? So I would argue that would only be a reasonable option if the 3950X is not also readily available and cheap. Because the 10980XE won't be as fast for gaming, and I believe is significantly more heat output related. Had a look at overclockers, and a 3600 and 1660 Super would get me going. That's certainly not bad. I think, is that for 1,000? Trying to remember what they had a deal on over the Christmas period that might have a slightly better deal, but I can't remember. I got a G7 on Prime Day. I've been waiting on the LG 27GN 950, and they seem to be out of stock all the time. Nice, fair play. What's it like? I've just got done building a PC, and first time turning it on, it says reboot and select the proper boot device. So you'll need to press the delete key and go into the BIOS and make sure that you have your SSD or your USB boot drive as the top in the priority list. Joe, what pills have they stuck you on this time? It's methylphenidate, Ritalin, whatever you want to call it, for ADHD. I do also have tramadol, which is funny because I don't ever like, the only effects that I feel is essentially a hangover the next day. I do not feel any issues while taking them directly. I only have a 60% though. If you don't have a delete key, then you should have an FN hotkey to press the delete key. So you need to find where that is. Otherwise, you need to find another keyboard to press the delete key. I'd love to upgrade, but it took me a year to afford my current setup. That's fair. What do you recommend as hardware for a complete set for audio recording? I have mic and DAC. So it depends what you want to do for audio recording. If you're talking about just voice, then I mean, to be fair, the Elgato Wave 3 is pretty decent, and they have a full set of arms and shock mounts and pop filters and stuff that work quite well. If you're talking about audio recording from a more music perspective, then things like the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2s are really good. So those are great options. They have phantom power, and so you can use XLR mics, plug in with jacks for audio, for instruments like guitar. So yeah, that's that. Kevin, unfortunately not. No, I have way too many pills for that to make any sort of sense. Do Intel allow consumers to have PCIe lanes now? Yes and no. They've got 16 to the slot, 4 for an SSD, and 4 DMI through the chipset. Yeah. Well, I think that's our usual hour, so I'll call it there. Thank you very much for watching. As always, there are plenty of links in the description of the streams and all that jazz. If you want to support the channel, there's the new YouTube join button, which you can check out if you want to get access to sponsor-free videos and access to our Money Men Discord chats. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you, Chris. And I'll catch you guys there. Stay safe. Bye.